East of Eden grower, Creedmoor here, coming to you today with a quick video on how to determine a few simple things about how your soil may be expressing pH. pH is a subject that a lot of gardeners, while they choose to do everything they can for adding nutrition to the soil, they fail to recognize that everything you add has some small implication when it comes to how the soil will express its protons of hydrogen. In this simple video, what I'm going to attempt to show you to do is to use this very inexpensive three-way tester, which I believe to be the gardener's best friend. Many of you may have an argument for that because you've never been able to get it to work, but I promise you, they work. So I have a Scotch-Brite pad right here, a little scouring pad. Most of you moms and dads know what this is for. We clean with these. And I'm just going to show you what I do. I simply fold it over the top. This one's dry. It can be dry or wet. Wet works, dry works. But I can do this a few times, and you'll notice that the copper polishes up. Starts to look really good. I can even go inside because surface area gives me the best reading. If I have a lot of surface area on the probes, I'm going to get a better, more accurate reading, and the reading is going to be faster. While I'm doing this, I'd like to mention that the temperature of a solution directly impacts the level of pH. So you may have a cold solution of water or a warm solution of water that is identical to each other, and the pH readings will be slightly different. It's not enough for me to be that concerned with, especially when it comes to growing. But now you can see that the probes are clean. On this side, I have acidic white distilled vinegar, and on this side, I have baking soda, known to be alkaline. Definitely a known alkalinizer for soils, and definitely a known acidifier for not just foods, but also for soils as well. It runs through the soil very quickly, so I don't like to use this for acidification unless I absolutely need a very quick acid down solution. I'm not even going to talk about how to do it because I feel so strongly about not discussing it. You can get yourself in a lot of trouble with this. This right here is distilled water. Those of you in the scientific circles, okay, maybe not in the scientific circles, are aware this expresses as pH neutral or base. It will always express the number 7. If it doesn't, it's not been distilled. Or there's a possibility that your probes are dirty and you need to clean them again. So a simple test to verify the accuracy of this particular, y'all can see it's brand new and fresh. I'm not trying to pull any wool over anyone's eyes. All I have to do now is take a clean container. It's been previously rinsed out. Put in about that much water. So I said about that much water because you really don't need a lot. I'm going to make the selection on the switch down here from moisture past light right straight to pH. Okay, so here you can see the scale is sitting directly on the right side of the green color, indicating precisely 7. All distilled water is pH neutral. It happens this way because distillation only removes the hydrogen and the oxygen component. Everything else remains behind, leaving us with a neutral blend. So the next will be a container of white distilled vinegar, and I'll show you how it is moved towards the acid side of the scale quite easily. Okay, in this example, you can see I've placed white distilled vinegar directly into the glass jar, and its expression is actually 5.5. Okay, the next test is going to be baking soda and water. Okay, as a side to this, I just want to go ahead and mention that each time I use this tester, I clean it. Make sure we clean off the probes really well. I have this handy dandy little rag right here. Just a shirt that we no longer wear, and I am going to clean it off, dry it off. I don't see any discoloration, so I won't use the Scotch-Brite again. I'm going to go ahead and drop it back in here again. And look, lo and behold, we are right back on the edge of 7. This proves that the tester is reusable, and it will duplicate consistent results throughout your testing experiences. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and back this up. That way you can see I'll be adding baking soda. A teaspoon, you all are all familiar with it. Me and my big thumb are just going to go ahead and scoop some out and put it in there. I am going to have to pick it up and shake it. Put 4 or 5 heaping teaspoons in there. Shouldn't take much. So I'll go ahead and I'll cover it up with the lid. Do my best to shake it in front of you. You can see it's pretty thoroughly mixed up. Now let's find out if we get the results we're looking for. Something fell down. Here we can see clearly that the pH of baking soda is approximately 5. That's expressing acidic. The next test will be lime. I'll go ahead and I'll use the lime that we have on hand, which is also powderized, and it should make for a great test. Okay, this next test involves the use of hydrated lime. I'm going to go ahead and again use the distilled water as my baseline for the test, rendering pH neutral at this point. That's what we like to see. Confirmation of pH neutral is a go. Hydrated lime is fairly common to use for alkalinizing lawns and other things that we want fast-acting lime to be used for. I've gone ahead again, once again, wipe the probes off really well so they're dry. We'll go ahead and we'll start out with just 4, since they're really heaping. It's almost like 8 anyway. Get a good shake. Of course, it's not dissolved all the way. When you put it into service, it'll take some time to dissolve. Pinned. At this point, it's safe to say it's showing about 9, which is far too alkaline for vegetables. There may be some other plants that will grow in pHs of this range, possibly forsythia. Maybe one of them, you may be able to get hydrangea to grow, but we don't eat any of those, not currently anyway. So this test is, well, that's my soil. That's from the garden. This is from 8 years of breakdown and decomposition. It's resulted in this. It's been sifted down so that I could get some of the finest stuff in here to test it easier. We like it to be fine. Fine is better. Just going to put it in the cup. Let's get dirty. Doesn't take that much to do a test. Put about half in there. I don't know if you can see, but mostly fines. There's a chunk right there I could toss off to the side. But that's what I grow in. Not much more. Anyway, since that's what I grow in, that's what I'm going to test. Distilled water. Followed by a shakedown. Using the same distilled water throughout all the tests. Tester's been cleaned. Little swirly swirl. What do we get? Looks like that's expressing 6.4. You can see it's in the red. I like it. Most of my stuff grows really well in that. This particular sample wouldn't need any sulfur to grow well. So there you have it. This concludes it. Hopefully this dispels any myths about whether or not these testers can be used in the garden, or whether or not they have a greater value being used in the garden than they do sitting in your junk drawer somewhere. It's very easy to make these changes. It's very simple. I like to do it on small scale like this and then introduce it to a gallon of water so I can scale it up for the remainder of my garden or the uses within the garden. We never try to make any alterations that are more than a single point, because that's dangerous. If I had to move the pH scale a single point, I would make an amend that moved it partway, then put it in full scale use, then retest, and then make additional amendments after that. There's no reason to put yourself in a bind by over-acidifying or over-alkalinizing. Mother Nature balances these things well just on her own. We don't see bad things happening until we intervene and we start touching. So my suggestion is to be conservative. Start out using less than you need and do some more testing. That's how I've found a great balance within my own growing areas. It's how I intend to continue on. As time goes, I find I have to add less and less of these things to get prosperous and vigorous growth. So that's comforting. It should be comforting for any new grower. But in the beginning, you might have to do this. You might have to tweak what you have. Okay? Peace.